Chosen one, stop. Heaven is not applauding what you said in public. Heaven is confirming what you mastered in private. And before you go 1 second further, I need you to understand something that nobody, not your pastor, not your family, not the person sitting closest to you, has been able to say out loud. The reason life has felt this heavy, this strange, this spiritually charged in recent months is not because you are falling apart. It is because you became something rare, and the realm that never sleeps has been watching every single moment of it. Think about the nights you said nothing, the nights when what was done to you deserved a response and you swallowed it, not because you were weak, because something deep and ancient inside you said not yet. Think about the moments you stood at the edge of breaking and you didn't break. The times someone dismissed you and you didn't beg to be understood. The times cruelty came for you and you refused to send it back dressed in your name. Heaven saw all of it. Every single silent decision, every restrained word, every private battle fought in the dark with no audience, no applause, no one to witness the dignity it took just to remain who you are. In the courts of heaven, chosen one, that was not invisible. That was evidence. As it is written in 1 Samuel 16:7, God does not see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And what your heart revealed in those hidden moments was not patience alone. It was not endurance alone. It was not silence alone. It was something far more dangerous to darkness than any of those things. Stay with me, because when I name it, many of you will finally understand why the pressure increased right before this message found you. Why the warfare intensified the moment you started growing quieter. Why what was sent to destroy you kept missing. You have been exhausted from being the stable one. You have been strong so long that your strength started to feel invisible even to you. You have asked God why obedience felt more costly than rebellion. Why the furnace kept burning for someone who kept choosing right. Here is your answer. Steel does not become steel in comfort. It becomes steel in fire. Your soul has been in that furnace, and what came out is not what went in. If this message found you in a strange hour type right now, heaven saw it, because something in you changed before this video ever began, and the spirit realm noticed it before you had words for it. Let me ask you something nobody has ever asked you directly. What if the hardest years of your life were not a punishment from God, but a curriculum designed by Him? Because here is what I know about you, chosen one. You have carried weight that most people never see. Weight that didn't come with an explanation. Weight that arrived in seasons when you were already tired, when the bills were tight, when the diagnosis came, when the person you trusted most turned their back and walked away without looking back. And in those moments, you did what most people do. You called it suffering. You called it a trial. You endured it. You survived it. But heaven is calling it something else entirely. James 1:2-4 says this, "Consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Not lacking anything. That is not the language of a God who forgot about you. That is the language of a God who was building you deliberately, precisely, without apology. Because here is the truth that will shift everything you believed about your pain. You were not just going through something, you were being trained through something. Think about what happens to a sword. A swordsmith does not craft a blade with kindness. He takes raw iron, cold, shapeless, ordinary, and he hammers it. He folds it. He drives it into fire, so intense the metal glows orange and then white. Then he hammers it again. Then fire again. Then cold water. The shock of it, the violence of the process. And every single time, the metal says nothing. It simply endures. And what comes out on the other side is no longer raw iron. It is something that can carry weight, hold an edge, and withstand a force that would shatter what it once was. Chosen one, that sword is you. Every betrayal was a hammer strike. Every delay was the fire. Every season of silence from heaven was the cold water, the shock that locked in what the heat had formed. Romans 5:3. 5 confirms it. Suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. That is not a coincidence of experiences. That is a sequence, a divine sequence. A training schedule written before you were born. Now look at Joseph. This was not a man who stumbled into destiny. He was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. And for 13 years, he had every reason to let bitterness calcify around his heart, every reason to become cruel, every reason to let the darkness he experienced become the darkness he carried. But he didn't. And that was not accident. That was formation. Look at Job. God himself called this man blameless. And yet Job lost his children, his health, his home, and the understanding of every person he loved all at once. What was being tested in Job was not his behavior. It was his identity. Could pain strip him of who he was at his core? Could suffering make him become someone he was never meant to be? The answer was no. And heaven witnessed it. Look at David, hunted through the wilderness like an animal, hiding in caves, writing psalms in the dark. And look at Jesus himself, 40 days in the wilderness, alone, hungry, pressed by darkness on every side. Every attack came designed to pull him out of character, to make him prove something, to make him react, to make him become what was coming against him. He didn't. And chosen one, neither did you. Isaiah 48:10 says it plainly, I have refined you, though not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. The furnace of affliction. Not the garden of ease, not the classroom of theory. The furnace. That is where you have been living, and that is where what is inside you was proven. Here is what I need you to hear with every part of your soul. Some of the attacks that came against you were specifically designed to pull you out of character. Some people were placed in your life to provoke you, to see if pain could make you mirror the cruelty that touched you. Some doors were closed not because you lacked qualification, but because the delay itself was the test to see if your faith could survive a God who sometimes moves in silence. Some betrayals were never about the person who committed them. They were about what you would become in the aftermath. And here is what heaven is now confirming over your life. You did not become what hurt you. 2 Corinthians 4:8-9. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. That is not weakness surviving. That is power operating. You were not being punished. You were being trusted with a level of formation that casual faith never reaches. The kind of formation that cannot be downloaded or inherited or borrowed from someone else's testimony. It can only be forged one private decision at a time, in the fire, when no one is watching. If you know what it feels like to fight battles, nobody could see type right now. I survived the unseen. Because that battle you survived, that invisible war that left no visible wounds, that was the first sign you were mastering a new power. But there was a second sign too, one far more mysterious. And most people miss it completely when it begins happening to them. Let me tell you what heaven has been watching. Not your Sunday mornings, not your public declarations, not the times you raised your hands in worship with 100 people around you. Heaven was watching what happened when the door closed, when the room was empty, when the pain arrived and nobody was there to see what you did with it. And here is the new power that heaven is confirming in you today. Are you ready? Because this will change how you see every single hard thing you have ever walked through. The new power is this. You learned how to hold pain without becoming poisoned by it. Read that again. Let it land. Because this is not small. This is not ordinary. This is one of the rarest things a human soul can develop. and most people go to their graves never mastering it. Think about what pain does to most people. It enters them and it recruits them. It turns them cold. It turns them bitter. It turns them into a version of the very thing that hurt them. And the cycle continues, generation after generation, wound after wound. That is how darkness keeps the world spinning in the same circles of suffering. But you broke that cycle, not with a sermon, not with a declaration, with a decision made in private, when nobody was applauding, when nobody was even watching. You received the arrow, and you did not become one. You carried the weight, and you did not spill it on the people around you. You held the flame through the wind, and it did not go out. That is not weakness. That is disciplined spiritual power, and it operates on 5 levels that most people never even reach. The first is emotional regulation. The ability to feel the full force of pain and still choose your response, not suppressing it, not pretending, feeling it completely and still refusing to detonate. The second is spiritual restraint. The power of the word you chose not to say, the phone call you didn't make, the revenge you were entitled to and never took. David had King Saul at his mercy twice. Twice he could have ended the man who was hunting him through the wilderness. And twice, in the dark of that cave, he whispered, "I will not stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed." Not shouted, whispered, because the greatest victories happen in whispers. Chosen one, that whisper was worth more than 1,000 public victories. The third is refusing to react beneath your calling. Because here is the truth, nobody tells you your calling has a frequency. And when you react from your wound instead of your identity, you drop that frequency. You step out of alignment, and things that were being prepared for you cannot find you anymore. You stayed in alignment when everything in your flesh screamed to step out of it. The fourth is refusing bitterness. Joseph was thrown in a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. Every single thing that happened to him was unjust. And yet, Genesis 50-20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." That verse was not written from a comfortable chair. That verse was forged in a dungeon. Chosen one, the same God who turned Joseph's pit into a palace has been working in your silence. The fifth, and this one will shake you, is remaining gentle without surrendering authority. Because the world told you that gentleness was weakness. Darkness told you that softness meant you could be controlled. But Jesus, who could have called 10,000 angels, stood before Pilate, before the crowd, before the nails, and said, "Father, forgive them." That was not weakness. That was the most terrifying display of controlled divine power this world has ever witnessed. And you have been operating in a measure of that same spirit. Here is why this matters spiritually. Darkness has a strategy. It is ancient and it is efficient. It sends pain and it waits for contamination. It expects suffering to recruit you. It expects betrayal to poison your heart. It expects pressure to make you reactive, fearful, chaotic, and divided against yourself. That is the system. That is what feeds everything dark in this world. But when you did not become contaminated, when the pain passed through you and came out transformed, the system broke down. You became unpredictable. And what darkness cannot predict, it cannot control. Stephen, with rocks splitting his skull open, looked up and said, "Lord, do not hold this sin against them." In the moment of maximum pain, maximum injustice, he held clean water in a dirty world, and heaven opened above him. Acts 7:56. The heavens literally opened. That is what you have been doing in private. And now heaven is opening above you. If your pain made you wiser instead of colder type right now, it changed me, not corrupted me. Because what most people call weakness was actually disciplined spiritual power. The world watched you absorb blow after blow and called you passive. Heaven watched you absorb blow after blow and called you dangerous. Dangerous to every system that feeds on reaction. Dangerous to every cycle built on contamination. Dangerous to everything that requires your wound to stay open, to keep working against you. But now comes the question that will take this message even deeper. If this power is so holy, why did it feel so heavy? Why did mastering it cost you sleepless nights? Why did it come with a loneliness so specific, so strange, that nobody around you had words for it? Why did obedience feel more costly than rebellion ever would have? That is where this message goes next. And what you are about to understand will finally explain the pressure that has been sitting on your life and why it was never what you thought it was. Chosen one, stay with me right here, because what I am about to say will answer something you have been carrying silently for a very long time. You felt it in your chest, that heaviness that showed up without warning, no diagnosis, no clear reason, just this weight pressing down on you like something enormous was sitting on your spirit. You told yourself it was stress. You told yourself it was age. You told yourself maybe you were just tired. But what if the heaviness was never a problem? What if it was a sign? Here is what nobody told you. Pressure does not increase when you are losing ground. Pressure increases when you are crossing a threshold. Before every birth, there is labor. Before every bridge holds its full load, it groans under the crossing weight. Before a spine becomes unbreakable, iron must be laid into it, and that process does not feel like strength. It feels like suffering. You were not breaking down. You were being strengthened under load. Think about the nights that made no sense. Nights where sleep would not come and you could not explain why your mind kept turning not toward worry exactly, but towards something you could not name. An ache, a restlessness, a grief with no clear face. You were not in crisis. You were in transition. And the soul always groans before it is transferred into something greater. Romans 8:22 says it plainly, the whole creation groans, as in the pains of childbirth. That groan is not defeat. That groan is the sound of something new that is too large to arrive quietly. And some of you groaned for years. You held other people together while quietly coming apart at the seams. You were the one everyone called, the one who showed up, the one who never fell apart in public because there was no room for that. Someone always needed you to be steady. And you were steady, every single time. But behind closed doors, when the calls ended and the house went quiet, you felt it. That bone-deep exhaustion that sleep could not touch. That emotional weight with no single source. That spiritual fatigue that came from carrying too much for too long without anyone asking what you needed. Can I tell you what that was? That was not weakness. That was the weight of a mantle settling onto shoulders that were not yet used to it. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah collapsed under a tree in the wilderness. This was not a weak man. This was the prophet who called down fire from heaven. And yet he said, I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. Total collapse, total exhaustion. And what did God do? He did not rebuke him. He did not replace him. He let him sleep. Then he sent an angel to feed him. Twice, because the journey ahead required more than Elijah currently had in him, and God was loading him back up. The weight you felt was not punishment. It was preparation. Because here is the law that heaven never violates. Capacity must always precede elevation. You cannot be trusted with a greater level of influence until you have proven you can carry a greater level of pressure. God does not promote people who collapse at thresholds. He promotes people who stood exhausted, unnamed, unrecognized, and kept standing. And that is exactly what you did. You felt the emotional swings you could not explain. Days where you were fine, and days where you were not, and you could not trace the difference. You carried grief without a clear name, mourning something you had not even lost yet, longing for something you could not yet see. That was not instability. That was your spirit sensing the weight of what was being transferred to you before your mind had language for it. The weight was not there to crush you. It was there to prove you could carry what is coming, and you proved it. Every night you held yourself together when falling apart would have been easier. Every morning you chose to get up and keep going when every cell in your body wanted to stop. Every moment you stayed soft when hardness would have been justified. You were passing a test that had no visible grade, no audience, and no applause. Heaven was watching every single one of those moments. And once heaven saw you could carry the pressure without collapsing into bitterness, the response was no longer delayed. This is why things around you began shifting recently. This is why relationships started changing in ways you did not initiate. This is why certain doors, certain people, certain seasons began quietly leaving your life, not through conflict, just through distance. You did not push them away. You outgrew them, and what you are growing into does not have room for everything you used to carry. But what exactly was being transferred to you in that pressure? Not just strength, not just wisdom, something even more specific. And when I name it, many of you will finally understand why your presence has started to affect rooms before you even open your mouth. If you felt a heaviness you could not explain type right now, I felt the weight, because what is coming next will show you not just what you survived, but what you became because you survived it. And that, chosen one, changes everything about what happens from this moment forward. Chosen one, I want you to think back to a specific moment, not a dramatic moment, a quiet one, a moment when someone who used to call you regularly just stopped. When a friendship that felt permanent started going silent without a fight, without an argument, without a reason you could name. When someone who once depended on your presence began creating distance and you couldn't figure out what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. That is not rejection. That is revelation. Because here is what nobody tells you when your inner world begins to shift. The first place the shift shows up is not in your circumstances. It is not in your bank account. It is not in your health or your opportunities. It shows up in your relationships. And it will disturb you because it should. Some people in your life did not love your growth. They loved your availability. They didn't love your wisdom. They loved your confusion, because your confusion made them feel safe. Some people were comfortable with the version of you that was easier to manipulate, easier to provoke, easier to pull into chaos. And the moment that version began to disappear, they felt it before you even announced it. The room changed because your frequency changed. Think about David. The moment Samuel poured that oil over his head in that field, nobody clapped, nobody celebrated. But Saul felt something shift the instant David stepped into his presence. First, Saul loved David. Then something in Saul began to rage. Not because David did anything different, but because what David carried began to expose what Saul had lost. David's anointing didn't attack Saul. It simply revealed him. Your growth doesn't attack the people around you. It reveals them. Think about Joseph. He didn't walk up to his brothers with arrogance. He had dreams God gave him, and the moment he shared them, something in his brothers ignited. Jealousy that had been sleeping woke up. Why? Because destiny in one person activates dormant insecurity in another. His brothers didn't hate who Joseph was. They hated who Joseph was becoming, and they tried to bury the future in a pit. But you cannot bury what heaven has already confirmed. Now let me ask you something direct, something that might be uncomfortable. How many relationships in your life were actually built around your wounds, not your wholeness? How many connections existed because you were broken in a way that was convenient for someone else? How many people stayed close because your low self-worth made you easy to overlook, easy to use, easy to dismiss, and they knew it? That is a hard question. Let it sit. Because when God begins to heal the wound that held certain people to you, those people don't celebrate your healing. They mourn their access. Some of them will call it your pride. Some will call it your attitude. Some will say you changed, as if that is an accusation. It is a confirmation. Think about the Lord Jesus. When he fed 5,000, the crowd pressed in from every direction. When he healed the sick, they carried people from miles away on stretchers. But the moment he began to speak hard truth, the moment he stopped performing for their comfort and started calling them to transformation, John 6:66 records it with devastating clarity. From this time, many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. They didn't leave because Jesus failed. They left because he stopped being what they needed him to be for their own comfort. And Jesus did not chase them. Chosen one, you are not required to chase people whose connection to you depended on your compliance. You are not required to shrink back into your wounds to keep relationships that were only alive because of your brokenness. An old key does not stop working because the key is broken. It stops working because the lock changed. And God changed your lock. What once had access to your peace no longer fits. What once could pull you into panic no longer finds a signal. What once fed on your instability now finds nothing to feed on because your spirit stopped living on noise. That is not loss. That is divine filtration. And yes, it will feel like loneliness at first. There will be a season where the silence is so loud, you will question whether you made a mistake. You will look at the empty chair where someone used to sit and wonder if your growth was worth the cost. Do not go back, because what is leaving was never sent by God. And what God is sending next cannot enter until the misaligned exits first. If this message is locating you exactly where you live, subscribe right now and type in the comments, "My spirit changed first." Let this be a marker. Let heaven and earth record what is being confirmed over your life in this very moment. Because the warfare you faced when you started growing was not random. Darkness does not attack what doesn't threaten it. The intensity of the opposition confirmed the weight of the assignment. Not everyone left because you were wrong. Some things left because you stopped being easy to destabilize. And that still is not the highest level of this power, because mastering this power did not only protect your peace, it positioned your voice. And what your voice is now capable of, that is what we enter next. Chosen one, stay with me, because what I am about to tell you is going to answer a question you have been carrying for years, maybe decades. You noticed it, didn't you? Something shifted in the way you speak. You use fewer words now. You stopped explaining yourself the way you used to. And when you do open your mouth, something in the room changes. People lean in without knowing why. Conversations grow still. Even people who once dismissed you now pause when you begin to speak. You thought it was age. You thought maybe you were just tired. No, that is not what is happening. What you are experiencing is the first visible evidence of everything heaven built in you through the silence. Your voice did not weaken during those long, quiet years. It was being forged, and there is a difference between a bell that has never been fired and a bell that has been through the furnace. One makes noise, the other makes people stop and listen. Heaven was not just teaching you how to endure. Heaven was building a voice that could not be bought, rushed, or easily manipulated. Think about Moses. 40 years in the wilderness of Midian, 40 years of silence after a life of privilege and power. The world counted him out, but God was not finished. He was refining. And when Moses finally stood before Pharaoh, he did not need volume. He did not need charm. He did not need persuasion. He carried governed authority, and Pharaoh felt it. Exodus 4:12. God said to him, "I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Not louder, not faster, just differently. From a place darkness could not replicate." Now look at Job. After everything was stripped from him, family, health, reputation, the respect of every man around him, Job opened his mouth. And when he finally spoke, God himself said that Job had spoken what was right. Not the religious men who had all the correct arguments. Job, the man who had suffered the most. The man who had been the most silent. Suffering does not destroy your voice, chosen one. It purifies it. And what about Peter, the man who denied Christ 3 times in one night? The man who wept so bitterly he could barely breathe. He could have stayed silent forever after that. He had every reason to. But after restoration, after the fire on the beach, after the quiet breakfast with Jesus by the water, that same Peter stood up on the day of Pentecost and opened his mouth. And 3,000 souls were changed in a single moment. Your greatest failure did not disqualify your voice. It deepened it. And Anna, 84 years old, decades of widowhood, decades of praying alone in the temple when no one was watching and no one was applauding. And when the moment came, it was her voice, not the voices of the young, not the voices of the powerful. It was Anna who declared the redemption of Jerusalem. Luke 2:38. Let me ask you something that may shake you. Why would God build this kind of power so late for some of you? Why now, after all these years? Why after the waiting, after the tears, after the silence that felt like being buried alive? Because authority cannot be faked. It cannot be downloaded overnight. It cannot be given to someone who has never paid for it. The world is full of loud voices. Heaven is searching for weighted ones. And weight only comes from what you have carried and refused to drop. You have been carrying it for years, chosen one. And now your words carry what most voices never will, the gravity of a life that has been tested and did not crumble. This is why you do not need as many words as before. One sentence from you lands heavier than 1,000 words from someone who has never suffered. Oil only flows from olives that have been crushed. You were crushed. And what flows from you now is not opinion. It is anointing. Your peace has become instructional. People around you do not always know what to say when crisis hits, but they know to call you. They know to sit near you. They know that something about your presence reorganizes their fear. That is not personality. That is authority deposited through decades of choosing steadiness when chaos surrounded you. Your discernment deepened because suffering taught you to hear beneath appearances. You can sense when something is wrong in a room before anyone has said a word. You can feel when someone is not telling the truth, even when the words sound correct. You can detect a spirit of fear in a person who is smiling. That is not age. That is a gift forged in fire. And your survival, your simple, daily, stubborn survival, produced authority that no seminary can hand you, that no title can manufacture, and that no opposition can revoke. You are not just karma. You are carrying governed authority. Thunder does not need to scream to shake a room. It simply arrives, and the ground responds. That is what you have become. You do not need to announce yourself anymore. You do not need to fight for a seat at the table. Wherever you go, something in the atmosphere adjusts. If you feel your voice changing, even if nobody else has noticed yet, type right now, "My voice carries weight now," because, chosen one, the silence is over. And what comes next is not just about you. The voice heaven built in you was never only meant for your own life. It was meant for the lives standing in front of you, the grandchildren watching how you carry grief, the neighbor who has not prayed in 30 years, the stranger in a waiting room who needs someone whose words carry the weight of real faith. Heaven gave you a voice the world desperately needs. And in the next part, you are going to discover exactly where that voice is about to take you, and why even the days that felt like delays were actually divine positioning for the assignment that is now opening in front of you. Chosen one, stay right here with me, because what I am about to say is something the world has never told you, something the culture around you has spent decades getting wrong, something that has cost far too many faithful souls their fire in the very season heaven was preparing to release them. You are not too old. You are too seasoned to be wasted. Say that again in your spirit. Too seasoned to be wasted. Because here is the lie that has been sitting in the room with you for years, quiet and patient, wearing the face of wisdom. It told you the silence meant heaven had moved on. It told you your strongest years were behind you. It told you that when the children grew up and the house got quieter and the body got slower, the story was winding down. It told you to be grateful for what was and let go of what could be. That was not wisdom. That was a weapon. And tonight, in the name of God who does not waste a single scar, we are pulling it out by the root. Think about Moses, the man who split the Red Sea, who stood before the most powerful ruler on earth, who led 2 million people through a wilderness on nothing but the word of God. Do you know how old Moses was when God called him to the most significant assignment in human history? He was 80 years old. 80. Exodus 7:7 doesn't hide it. It says it plainly, as if God wanted you to find that verse on a night exactly like this one. 40 years in a palace, 40 years in a desert. Then at 80, God said, "Now you are ready." What were those desert years? Failure, waste, exile? No, they were the furnace. They were the place where everything Egypt had built in him had to be burned away before heaven could use what was underneath. God did not call Moses in spite of his age. God called Moses because of everything age had already done to him. And then there is Caleb, Joshua 14:10, 85 years old, standing before Joshua. And do you know what came out of his mouth? "Give me this mountain, not give me rest. Not I've done my part. Give me this mountain." At 85, Caleb was not asking to be remembered. He was asking for territory, because the years had not broken his fire. The years had focused it. And Anna, O chosen one, do not rush past Anna. Luke 2 tells us she was 84 years old, a widow for most of her life, spending every waking hour in the temple in prayer and fasting. The world had long forgotten her name. But when the infant Jesus was carried through those temple doors, it was Anna, not the young, not the prominent, not the ones the world was watching. It was Anna who recognized the Messiah. Why? Because God had been deepening her sight for decades. Her age was not her limitation. Her age was her credential. Here is what Psalm 92:14 says, "And I need you to receive this like medicine. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be full of sap and very green." Full of sap, very green. That is not the language of a life winding down. That is the language of a tree still drawing from deep water. Now let me ask you something directly, and I need you to be honest. How long have you believed the lie that you missed your time? How many mornings have you woken up carrying the quiet grief of a calling you thought had expired? How many times have you watched younger voices step forward and told yourself that was supposed to be me once? How many years have you stored your oil, kept your testimony to yourself, quieted your prayer because somewhere along the way the enemy convinced you that heaven had already moved on to someone newer, someone stronger, someone whose best days were not yet behind them? Chosen one, that grief you have been carrying is real. I am not dismissing it. The years of silence were real. The cost of faithfulness was real. The weight of being strong for everyone else while quietly wondering if God still remembered your name, that was real. But hear me now. Heaven did not go silent because it forgot you. Heaven went quiet because it was completing something in you that noise would have interrupted. You know what happens to wine when it ages? It does not weaken. It deepens. The flavors that were sharp become layered. What once required effort to appreciate becomes unmistakable. You do not rush aged wine. You do not apologize for it. You reserve it for the moment that deserves it. You are that wine. You know what happens to an old oak that has survived 100 storms. Its roots go down 30, 40, 50 feet. You cannot move it. You cannot shake it. Younger trees fall in the wind that the old oak simply absorbs. That is not age, that is authority. You are that oak. And you know what they say about old wells? The water that comes up from deep underground is the cleanest, because it has been filtered through decades of stone. What comes up from shallow ground carries everything on the surface. But what comes up from deep down that is pure? Your depth is not your limitation. Your depth is your gift. Here is what heaven is confirming tonight. The decades did not bury your call. The decades aged your oil. And oil that has been aged, oil that has been pressed in the darkness for years, that is the oil that does not run dry when the pressure increases. That is the oil that keeps the lamp burning when everyone else's flame goes out. God does not call the young because they are impressive. He calls the seasoned because they are trustworthy. He waits until the soul is deep enough to carry what youth would have mishandled. Not because youth is wrong, but because what he is preparing to release through you required a life, not just a moment. If you are over 50, over 60, over 70, and something in your spirit is still burning, still knowing, still sensing that God is not finished, type right now, my oil is still flowing, because heaven did not keep you alive this long to end in silence. It preserved you for release. And if you still believe the best of what God placed in you is ahead of you, then stay with me, because what you just received was recognition. What is coming next is release. And when heaven releases what has been aged in secret, chosen one, nothing in this world is ready for what walks out of you. Now listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you is not a promise for someday. It is a confirmation of what is already in motion. The power you mastered, that rare ability to hold your peace under fire, to remain governed when everything around you erupted. It was never just about survival. Heaven never develops something that extraordinary simply to keep you stable. God builds weapons, not monuments. And chosen one, what was forged inside you, is now beginning to unlock things you stopped believing were possible. 4 things. 4 specific, irreversible unlockings. The first is discernment. You have been given eyes that most people spend a lifetime praying for, not the ability to read a situation, the ability to see through it. There is a difference between a person who is smart and a person who is discerning. Intelligence analyzes what is visible. Discernment perceives what is invisible. Proverbs 20:12 says it plainly, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made both of them. And beloved, God does not give that kind of sight to someone who still reacts out of every wound. He gives it to someone who has learned to be still long enough to actually see. You have been in rooms where something felt wrong, and you could not explain it. You have walked away from people who looked perfect on the surface, and found out later you were right to distance yourself. That was not anxiety. That was discernment already active. And what is coming next will require it at a level you have not yet experienced. Discernment protects destiny, and yours is about to need protecting. The second is stewardship. And this is where I need you to hear me very clearly, because the world has cheapened this word. People hear stewardship, and they think it means managing money carefully. That is the smallest version of what this means. True stewardship is the ability to carry weight without wasting it, to hold influence without abusing it, to receive more resources, more responsibility, more access, and still remain the same person who was faithful when you had very little. God does not pour oil into a cracked vessel. He does not expand the territory of someone who cannot govern the territory they already have. Luke 16:10 makes this unmistakably clear. Whoever is faithful in a very little thing is also faithful in much. And chosen one, you have been faithful in things no one applauded, in the unseen, in the unrecorded. That faithfulness is the qualification heaven has been waiting to honor. What is coming is not just more money, it is more trust. And where trust from heaven increases, practical provision follows. Peace itself is a form of wealth. When you are no longer driven by panic, no longer making decisions from a place of desperation, no longer hemorrhaging energy on things that once controlled you, you begin to accumulate what chaos always stole from you: time, clarity, opportunity, favor that multiplies quietly while others are still striving loudly. The third is holy influence. There are rooms you are about to walk into that will shift the moment you arrive. Not because you announced yourself, not because you campaigned for a seat, because what you carry changes the atmosphere. This is the quiet authority that darkness cannot manufacture and humans cannot counterfeit. It is not charisma, it is not personality. It is the gravitational pull of a soul that has been through the fire and came out still loving, still trusting, still standing. Think about Daniel. He walked into Babylon, the most corrupt, most chaotic empire on earth, and within years, kings were asking him for wisdom. Not because he was loud, because he was aligned. His inner world was so stable that the outer world had to adjust to him, not the other way around. That is the kind of influence heaven is now releasing through you. Doors that do not open for effort, doors that open for alignment. The fourth is provision. And hear me say this with the full weight of Scripture behind it. God gives more where chaos no longer rules. Deuteronomy 28:8 declares that the Lord will command his blessing on you in your storehouses and in all you undertake. But that blessing is commanded, not scattered. It is directed. It is intentional. It goes to the address where maturity lives. Heaven does not fund disorder. Heaven does not entrust resources to someone who will let reaction destroy what provision built. But you have already proven that you can hold things without crushing them. You have already demonstrated that you can carry weight without collapsing under it. And that means bigger keys are now being placed in stronger hands. Your hands. If you are ready for what this power unlocks, type right now, I can carry more now. But chosen one, before the release becomes visible, before the doors swing open, before the provision arrives with your name on it, there is one final temptation many chosen ones face right here. And if they fail it, they delay what heaven already approved. What is coming next will not be entrusted to the version of you that once panicked. It is being given to the version of you that learned to remain governed under pressure. And that version? That is who you are now. Stay with me, because what comes next will determine whether you step into this or step back from the very door heaven opened for you. Chosen one, lean in close. Because what I am about to say is not inspiration. This is a warning. You have come too far. You have been through too much. Heaven has confirmed too much over your life for you to do what I am about to tell you not to do. Do not go back. Not to the old patterns, not to the old reactions, not to the version of you that survived by shrinking, over-explaining, chasing, and begging to be understood. That version of you got you through, but that version of you cannot carry what heaven is now placing in your hands. And here is the danger nobody tells you about. The moment you step into something new, the old self does not quietly disappear. It knocks, it whispers, it disguises itself as humility, as reason, as love. It says things like, maybe I was wrong, maybe I should explain myself, maybe I should go back and fix it, maybe I spoke too soon, maybe I need their approval first. Do not listen. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is habit. And habits do not care about your destiny. Look at Lot's wife. She was delivered. She was free. The angels of God had literally taken her by the hand and pulled her out of destruction. All she had to do was keep walking forward. But she looked back. One look, and she became a monument to the danger of returning to what God already moved you out of. She did not go back. She just looked back. And it cost her everything. Chosen one, what are you still looking at? Look at Israel in the wilderness. God had broken their chains. God had parted the Red Sea. God had drowned their enemies in the same water that carried them to freedom. And what did they do? They stood in the desert and said, "We miss Egypt. We miss the food. We miss the familiar. We want to go back to the place where we were slaves." They called bondage comfort, because it was familiar. Be careful what you call comfort right now. Some of what feels safe to you is just old chains that have been on you so long, you stopped feeling the weight. Galatians 5:1 says it with force, stand firm, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. Stand firm. not drift forward, not slowly inch ahead. Stand firm, because the pull backward is real, and it is strong, and it will come dressed in reasons that sound completely reasonable. Someone will provoke you, and the old self will say, answer them, defend yourself, make them understand. But the new you knows that not every provocation deserves a response. Silence is not weakness when it is chosen. Silence, in the hands of someone who has mastered restraint, is power. Someone will shut a door in your face, and the old self will say, knock again, push harder, prove yourself, make them see what they missed. But the new you knows that when God closes a door, your fingerprints do not belong on it anymore. Someone will question your worth, and the old self will shrink. Maybe they are right. Maybe I am too much. Maybe I should make myself smaller so they feel comfortable. But the new you knows that your assignment was never to make darkness comfortable. Do not let the version of you that was trained in survival sabotage the version of you that is now being trusted with influence. Think about Peter. Jesus had already called him, already commissioned him, already told him, on this rock I will build my church. And what did Peter do in the space between that calling and its fulfillment? He went back to fishing, went back to the familiar, went back to what he knew before Jesus changed everything. And Jesus had to come find him, had to stand on the shore and call him forward again. Heaven should not have to keep calling you back to who you already became. You do not put new wine into old wineskins. It is not cruelty, it is chemistry. The old skin cannot hold the new thing. It will burst. You cannot drag grave clothes into resurrection. You cannot kneel again under weights that God already broke off your neck. Here is the threshold test. This is not a test of whether you are chosen. That has already been decided. This is a test of whether you will remain aligned with what you now carry, whether you will trust the new identity more than the old comfort, whether you will walk forward when your hands are shaking and the familiar is pulling from behind. Hell tested you with pressure. Heaven now tests you with trust. And if you hold your ground right now, if you do not shrink, do not explain, do not chase, do not go backward, heaven's confirmation will not stay invisible much longer. What has been prepared for you is already in motion, but it can only meet you on the forward path. It cannot follow you backward. Chosen one, make the decision right now, not tomorrow, right now. If you refuse to return to the old you, if you are done shrinking, over-explaining, chasing validation, and reopening doors God already sealed, type it right now where everyone can see it. I will not return to the old me. Say it like you mean it. Because you do, and heaven is listening. Chosen one, we have arrived, and I need you to feel the weight of this moment, because what I am about to say is not a conclusion. It is a coronation. You came into this video carrying something you could not name, a heaviness, a knowing, a quiet ache that whispered something has changed in me, but I do not yet understand what. And now, after everything that has been revealed, I need to name it plainly, so that heaven and earth can both bear witness to what you have become. You mastered something that most people never even attempt. You did not react when reaction would have been justified. You did not become bitter when bitterness would have been understandable. You did not collapse when the weight should have broken you. You did not lose your softness when the world handed you every reason to go cold. You did not abandon your calling when no one was affirming it. You did not surrender your identity when pressure tried to rewrite it. You did not speak beneath your maturity when foolishness provoked you. You did not let pain rewrite your character even when pain stayed long enough to try. That was not weakness. That was warfare at the highest level. Chosen one, heaven confirms you mastered the power of a governed spirit, a purified response, and a pressure-tested peace. Read that again slowly. Let it land. Because God did not just let you survive the furnace, He used the furnace. And what came out the other side was not the same person who went in. Daniel 3:25. 3 men walked into a fire, but when the king looked in, he saw 4, and the 4th looked like the Son of God. You have been in your fire, and you were never in there alone. Now here is where I need to ask you something direct, something that may sting before it sets you free. How long are you going to keep treating yourself like you are still the old version? How long are you going to flinch at doors that are already open for you? How long are you going to apologize for the depth that suffering built in you? How long are you going to act like that mantle does not fit when heaven has already placed it on your shoulders? The letter has been sealed. The dawn has broken. The door is open because the house inside your soul is finally ready. You are not who you were when the trial began, and it is time you started walking like it. Let me pray over you now. Father God, Ancient of Days, I come before your throne carrying every soul hearing this word right now. You know their name. You know the night they almost didn't make it. You know the silence they kept when speaking would have been easier. You know the softness they protected when hardness would have felt safer. Lord, I pray over their mind. Silence every voice that still speaks in the language of the old season. Let clarity rise where confusion has camped too long. I pray over their sleep. Let them lay down tonight without the weight of what is finished. Give them rest that is deep and holy and unafraid. I pray over their heart. Every crack that pain made, let it become a channel for grace to flow through, not a wound that holds them back. I pray over their voice. Loose it, Lord. What they have learned in the furnace must now be spoken. There are people in their circle waiting for exactly what suffering built in them. I pray over their household. Bring alignment. Bring peace. Bring the kind of order that only your presence establishes. I pray over their finances. Open the wells that were stopped up in the season of preparation. Let provision match the assignment now being released. I pray over their final chapter, because God, you do not write weak endings for strong finishes. Let their last chapter be the one that every other chapter pointed toward. I pray over their late life assignment. Let them not shrink from it because of age or fatigue. Moses was 80 at the burning bush. His greatest work had not yet begun, neither has theirs. And Father, I pray a wall of protection over them against every old cycle that tries to pull them back. What they mastered was hard won. Let no familiar spirit reclaim what has been surrendered to you. Now give them the courage, bold, unashamed, unhesitating courage, to carry what heaven is releasing into their hands this very day. In the name of Jesus, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever, I seal this prayer over your life. Amen. If this word confirmed what your spirit already knew, type right now, Heaven confirmed me. Subscribe if you are stepping into your next assignment with clean hands and a steadied heart. And send this to someone whose soul has been carrying holy weight in silence. They need to hear this today. Chosen one, you thought you were just surviving. Heaven says you were mastering power. And now that heaven has confirmed it, what comes next will not meet the old you. It will meet the one who was forged for it.